Hello all, my name is Ben Hood and I'm here to walk you through a Planview Agile Program Management solution demonstration. Before we go into the demo, I wanted to acquaint you with how Planview views the current market. Our overarching solution is Planview Enterprise Agile Planning. This supports lean portfolio management, Agile program management, along with team-level delivery tools for the business, for dev and DevOps teams. For the demo I'm about to show you, we're going to start and focus on the Agile program management level and work down. The solution supports the needs of release train engineers, dev and engineering leaders, product leaders, line of business leaders, by providing visual configurable boards to support program increment and Agile release train planning. It also provides dependency visualization and capacity management, and in addition to providing teams of team views to facilitate coordination and collaboration amongst your teams. The Planview Agile integration capabilities gives the flexibility to continue to use the Agile execution tools that you prefer or that are already tailored to support your processes, such as Jira, Rally, Azure DevOps, CollabNet version 1, or we also support team-level delivery using Planview Lean Kit. The boxes at the bottom of this connect up to our Agile program management layer, and as you'll see in the demonstration, create a visualization capability that allows you to make better decisions faster. So with that said, let's get into the demonstration. Welcome to Planview Lean Kit. What we're looking at right now is a portfolio level Kanban board that provides executives and portfolio managers a visual view of the work that's planned. That's in our portfolio epic forecast, in addition to the work that we're currently started or implementing that's in our implemented lane. It provides, as I mentioned, that visual view of work, which planned and in process. It shows flow and capacity. The value is it allows us to visualize work to support our business decision making. This current board is designed really with a scaled Agile framework consideration in mind, so safe-like, right? It allows us to do our LPM epic forecasting, right? And it allows us to move that work into our kind of execution statuses, that in this case being the different release trains that work is going to be delivered on. All right. There's quick visual cues that show you how big the work is, whether it's large, medium, small, the number of points that we're estimating against it, whether something is blocked or it's of critical capability, and what its potential due date is. It also provides some insight into how complete the work is underneath it with respect to the, in this case, the feature story points behind it. Right. The point is very quick kind of visual representation of your work. Right. And it's as simple as if I want to take on this 310 APM demo epic, I could simply move it into the release train that's going to work on. And I could visually see whether or not I'm at or I'm exceeding my WIP limit, AKA my capacity. So it provides basic but useful and powerful capacity planning that gives you insight into whether or not you're going to exhaust your available capacity within your particular release trains. Now, the movement of that epic to the MVP lane, or moving something from MVP into the persevere lane, is really what kicks off the program increment planning. Once those epics are moved in, it shows the products and the leaders of the doers what is now the priority. And as we'll see in a few minutes, it allows them to decompose those features that make up the epics onto their program level boards, which, as I mentioned, we'll get to in just a moment. Right? Because leadership has agreed on which epics are going to be completed and within which release trains, right? And we know what the priority is. Using connections, we can also see how those particular epics roll up to their individual strategic themes. So very quickly, I could see which epics make up all the work that's going into our strategic theme around impregnable cybersecurity. This is very useful for leaders to be able to understand what work are we doing and how that ties back to our strategy. Now, in many organizations, visually looking at the portfolio level Kanban is enough for them to get status. Other organizations also like to see things in more of a timeline view. So if I go to my analytics and go to my portfolio timeline, I can open up my portfolio timeline report that we're looking at right here. And so what I'm looking at right now is I'm grouping by card type. I could see the timeline of the work that's going into it. I could see whether things are in process, whether they are finished, okay, whether things are blocked, and then, of course, if things are not started. All right. I could see it broken out right now by what are my enablers, what are my epics, and down here, what are my strategic themes that we're working towards. So kind of a traditional Gantt chart that shows you kind of that roadmap or timeline view that many leaders are interested in. So what I'd like to transition to now is start to break down one of these epics into the things that make it up. So what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to open up the 310 epic, and we're going to go look at its children. So since we're at the epic level, we're now going to look at the features that make up that particular epic. So when I look at the child cards here, I could see that there's one feature that makes up this particular epic, the 310 APM demo feature. And right now it's about 45 of 95, or about 47% complete, right? I could see what its WSGIF is, how many points it's worth, whether it's blocked, which in this case it is, in addition to its criticality. And if I want to go view this feature on its program level board, I have one-click access to go ahead and open up that feature. Now, I've accessed that feature from the perspective of that one epic I was on. So it is low lighting all the other features that are on this board. If I say show only, it will show me just the feature that belongs to the particular epic that I'm working with. All right. So let's go back and turn off the filter. And real quick, let's go and look at this board in its entirety. All right. So let me expand out this first column. And I did a Shift 0, which shows me the whole board. So work flows from left to right. I've got a big area called here not started and another area called started. So this is all the work we're working on, and this is all the stuff that's not started. Let's go focus in on what's started. What's not started. This is where your teams will do, the doers, as we said earlier, will do their program increment planning, right? So what are we going to do on our next program increment? Right. So what I could see here, if I want to add a new feature, it's as simple as me going in and creating a brand new feature card, right? Alternatively, I could go on one of these cards and duplicate it to go ahead and create that new feature. And I'll take those new features as they're created, and I will move them into the iterations that they're going to be worked on. All the while respecting WIP limits, right, or capacity, right? So if I wanted to do this new feature that's worth 50 points, and I try to move it into team beta right now in their third iteration, you could see that the whole thing lights up red because we're exceeding our WIP limit for the entire PI plan. So once again, basic but effective capacity planning while you're doing your program increment planning, right? The other thing that we should note is that, this allows me to quickly understand all the relationships between the work at multiple levels, right? So I'm visualizing all relationships, not necessarily just parent-child, right? So I could see which features belong to which milestone, which features are going in what's release, and if I want to, I could see which features are going to impact which program increment objective, right? And as noted earlier, this board is modeled really after the Scaled Agile framework methodology, right? So this is everything that we're going to be doing next. Our next program increment, when we do our PI planning, like a Planview, we do them quarterly. We're using a board like this to help our teams figure out which features are going to be completed within which iterations by which team, all right? Now let's go over and look at what work is being completed in the current program increment. What are we working on now? So I could see all the work that's currently being worked on right now. And let's say, for example, I wanted to see what the health is of this work. I can easily pull it up by hitting my H key to pull up board health. What board health shows me is, do I have any bottleneck lanes where the ratio of cards coming in and out of a lane in the last 7 days? And I could see the spots where I've got some major bottlenecks, like in iteration 3 for Team Charlie, or the area where I have some severe bottlenecks, right? I have some severe bottlenecks back here in our backlog, right? We're not moving stuff out of our backlog quickly enough, amongst other places. In addition to that, I could see what is the work in process by week, right? So what is our average per week and our 7-week average? I could also look at our card throughput, right? How many cards are we starting per week versus how many we are finishing, so I could see if we're actually finishing the things that we're starting from a week-to-week basis. So super simple to be able to see that. What I can also do here is, on an individual team where in our current program increment, we got Charlie, Beta, and Alpha as our teams. Beta, we're going to focus on, they're using Jira. Let's say that they're going to start working on this particular feature, right? So the 310 APM demo feature, let's make it a little bit bigger so you could see it. And we could see here that it's currently in the doing lane. We have not exceeded our WIP limit, which is great news, right? And the cards, once again, give me some insight, right? What's its criticality, right? Is it blocked? In this case, this one's blocked, right? Did you tag it with anything? How many points is it worth, and what its WSGIF is? This little triangle right there, if it is yellow or red, is telling me that there's exceptions down at the child level, right? So I could maybe dig into those problems, in addition to looking at how many user story points have been consumed. So we're about 47% complete on that feature. All right, based on its user stories that have been complete. Now, before I start digging into that feature, let's actually go and understand the exceptions that are happening on this board, or we could say within this program increment, right? So once again, real quickly, I can go to analytics and I could generate an exception report, right? Extremely useful report that's used in a lot of cases in stand-ups that you have with your teams. So I might want to quickly be able to see, of my critical work, what items are blocked. And if I click on that, I can then see that this APM demo feature is blocked, which I'll get to in just a moment. I can see how many have missed a start date, how many have missed their finish date, they exceeded their average cycle time, and how many cards are stale or inactive that are of critical priority. So rather than you having to go to each team and have them present you their exceptions, we can use the exception analytic here to pull it up real quick. And if I want to dig into one feature, simply click on it and go ahead and open it up. So what I want to do now is really kind of transition from this feature and go start to see, well, what's making up this feature? What's going into it? So what I'm going to do is quickly click on the children cards, the child cards, and I can see that currently there are 3 user stories for this feature that are not started or started. And if I layered in finished, I'll see that I've actually got 3 user stories that are complete. And once again, those user stories are organized onto a team of teams type board, where I could go down onto that board and once again, I'm only looking at the user stories that belong to the feature that I came from. So I could see there's the 3 that are finished. Over here, I've got the 3 that are kind of currently started and in process. And if I click on highlight, I could see kind of all the other user stories that are happening. Once again, on this board, certainly respecting WIP limits that are available for teams, either in terms of points or number of cards that are in a particular lane. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your teams can certainly use Lean Kit for their user story planning and execution, but we also realize that your teams are already using other tools potentially, and they're comfortable in those other tools. So if I just go out for this one user story and go open up that user story inside of Jira, I can now go and view this user story inside of the Jira user experience. All right. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Kanban board on this Jira experience, and I'm going to filter out all the other user stories except the ones that are part of this demonstration. So I could see that I've got 3 user stories that are either not started or in progress, and I've got 3 that are done. All right. So let's say it starts that, we kind of kick off and we decided we're going to start user story number 5. And then we've also decided with user story number 6, right? This is a little bit bigger, and we're actually going to clone this and create a brand new user story off of this. So I'm going to say this is going to be user story number 7, and I'm going to go ahead and create that. And when user story number 7 is done being created, I'm going to go in and say, you know what? It's not so minor. It's actually kind of major. And for story point perspective, it's going to be worth 20 story points. So go ahead and make that update and update it. And then once again, if I go out and look at my Kanban board, right, we'll see the one user story that I moved over into the lane. Let me filter this one more time. And then the new one, user story number 7, that I went ahead and created. So keep in mind, we can keep your teams inside of the ALM tool that they use and love every day, right? Whether that's Rally, whether that's Jira, like you see here, whether it's ADO, version 1, et cetera, right? The benefit is they're using those tools every day, but we could take what they do inside of those tools and then bubble them up onto a team of teams board, like you see right here. So notice how my user story 7 was created in my team backlog lane for team beta. And it also moved my user story 3 over into the doing, or excuse me, user story number 4 over into the doing lane, right? So your teams are disparate. They're using different tools. We can let them use what they prefer to use, but provide that layer of transparency on top of it by being able to bubble up that information, in addition to by being able to show any relationships between work or dependencies that needs to occur. This provides transparency of work where we could see it at all levels, right? So take what they're doing down at the user story level in their ALM tool of choice, bubble it up to a team of teams board so we could see it. I could open up a user story here and then go and look at its parent. So if this was a user story, now I'm looking at the feature that it belongs to. If I want to go view this feature, and notice this feature is now 45 of 115, it's now 39% complete because we added another user story to that feature. I could go and open up that feature. Now I'm back on the program level board. Remember, this was modeled after SAFe, where on one board, we did not only our PI planning, but it shows what we're doing now and shows what's done. So everything on one. I can look at my feature. I can understand my relationship between my feature and its releases that it's a part of, its objectives that it's supporting, and in this case, which time box it's supporting, right? And then I can always go and open up one of my features and then go look at its epic or parent that it belongs to, right? And then go view that epic on its portfolio level board. So if you think about what I did, I started at the top and I drilled all the way down into a user story. And then I was at a user story and I was able to kind of drill all the way back to see which particular epic this belonged to. And probably most importantly, which strategic theme that particular user story is supporting, which in this case is the impregnable cybersecurity strategic theme. That transparency and connection of work from top to bottom and from bottom to top is unmatched in the marketplace with what Planview provides. So some key takeaways, all right? Primarily, the first one is what I just showed you, right? The ability to go from the portfolio to the program down to the team, the ability to view all the real-time work in one place. There's no more status updates are needed, right? You have out-of-the-box analytics, member board health, exceptions, timeline report. Those are just a few amongst many. We're able to visualize all work with dependency management and eliminate any rework because we're understanding those connections and can coordinate those handoffs. And the one point I made a few moments ago, on that program level board, everything's in one spot. I could do my PI planning on the board. I could see that stuff that's in the current program increment, and then I could see it through to done, all on one board, all in one place. Makes it super simple, right? And then the last piece, your Agile teams might be using disparate tools. Some teams might be using Jira, some might be using ADO. Heck, the teams that are using Jira might be using them completely different. What this allows us is to connect your disparate Agile tools, let your teams do their best work in their tool of choice, but allow that consolidation and bubble up to the program level and ultimately to the portfolio level take place. And one thing that we're not going to show today, but we can add into this, Planview can layer in on top of that a portfolio management level that allows you to consolidate not only your Agile work, but also your traditional work. So you have a consolidated view, I should say, of all work across the enterprise. Right. So I'd like to thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions or any follow-ups, please contact your Planview representative. Thank you for taking the time to watch this recording today.